What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Trav from Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, and once again, I am here with my man, Mr. Paul Workman from the Worsty podcast. How we doing? Hey,
Doing all right, man. How you doing tonight?
Dude, good. I just got done watching movies all day, and now I'm here.
Nice.
Now I'm here doing the thing. So, yeah, we're watching Y episode 4. Well, reviewing. We're not watching. We already watched it, but Y the Last Man episode 4. Karen and Benji, and let's break it down. Who is Karen and Benji?
Well, Karen and Benji are Hero and Sam,
Right.
Who are York's sister and her trans best friend,
Right.
and they're out on the run trying to make their way to DC after they've left New York, and they've come across some small town where they end up finding a house.
Dude, yeah, with a stable.
With no horses.
With no horses.
But maybe a Mary Kay car?
Yeah, maybe. That's what the Lincoln MKs?
Mm-hmm.
Every time I see one, I think it's a Mary Kay car. And then I'm like, it's not a Mary Kay car, it's a Lincoln. But what's it called? Every time I see the MK, I'm like, Mary Kay's just handing out cars to people?
I tell you, I see one of those pink cars in a parking lot. And I'm like, oh, hey, look.
It's Mary Kay. We ain't talking about the Olsen twins neither.
No.
So, yeah, man, it's pretty much their journey. And then the journey of Agent 355 in York. And, they've not crash landed, but, landed a bit of ways from Boston. They're going to walk the rest of the way.
Because 355 says that they're the only lights in the sky, so they'd be really conspicuous.
Bro, she knows.
Look,
York needs to just shut up. let her command, because she know what the fuck she's doing, bro.
Yeah, she is on top of it.
She's on top of it.
All about the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I love her. I don't know who, because she doesn't have like a long list or anything that she's done. Right. Like, she just does random appearances and stuff, right? I feel like this is her first big role.
Like her first
star role.
Main cast role.
Yeah. And
series regular is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping that this elevates her to start doing more stuff, but
I hope so too, especially the way this episode started with the dream walking sequence and that song and dance she does. Mm-hmm. I was confused for a moment, but once I realized what was going on, oh man, it blew me away.
Dude, I hope that it keeps doing weird things like this, because I'm all about it. Like, it doesn't take away from the seriousness of the show. To me, it's like a weird one-off random thing that happens, and then we're back to business in this show.
Yeah, and it gives you an idea that even 355, who is a very serious person and who takes nobody's bullshit, is dreaming of the world before,
right?
And she's sleepwalking, which I wonder if that's going to come back, because that put her in a really precarious situation. So yeah, it adds an element that I hadn't really thought of to this point,
right?
It gives her a lot of humanity because she's trying to suppress her own.
Right. And their dynamic too is so good. I mean, I don't necessarily blame York for running off, when he feels like he's seen Beth, is that her name?
Beth, yeah.
Beth, his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, I mean, whatever you want to call it, but I don't necessarily blame him, but the man just constantly seems to get himself in situations and she's bailing him out. Yeah. And then he's bitching about how she bails him out, and it's like, dude, shut up, and she had this good speech about how he's never had to suffer any consequences and stuff. Like, he gets second, third, fourth, fifth chances his whole entire life, and now when he's in a room, he can do whatever he wants, and now when he walks in a room, he's the most important person in the room, and how's he gonna handle being the most important person in the room? And yeah, dude, just really, really good dynamic they got between them.
Yeah, I love the way they end the episode with him showing her card tricks.
Yeah.
Just a small bonding moment.
Yeah, because she was digging it. Like, she's a hard ass, but, he pretends like part of the trick is he shows her the wrong card on purpose. And she's like, this guy, and hey, he whips out the real card and she's, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And it was cool to get some sort of, she's so straight all the time. It was cool to get a reaction out of her.
To show that she too can be surprised.
Right, yeah. And enjoy stuff. It's not always, yes, sir, business all the time. But we're at the halfway point now of this show. And
yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
3 more episodes.
4 more episodes, right? Ain't it 8?
Oh, yeah, we're on 4.
Yeah. So,
because last week we had discussed there was only going to be 7 episodes.
Right, so. And that's what I was saying, was they did this for American Horror Story. They originally had 5. And then they added a 6th one later on. Not that the production company added it, but Wikipedia added it to the thing.
Right.
So I'm thinking, who knows how many we're going to get? Because I Googled it, and there's no definitive answer online of an announcement. So
I really think 10's a good number.
I do too, but honestly, I'll be kind of satisfied with 8. If
8 does feel like a nice number, especially,
it does.
Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier only went 6, and
right.
WandaVision was 9. So yeah, I mean, it's what I like to call the economy of storytelling. Let a story go as long as the story needs to go.
Right.
So,
and let me look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure The Walking Dead first season was only 6 episodes, right?
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah. So, because they weren't sure if it was going to get hot. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the feeling, or FX is we'll put out these and kind of see how they do. There's no way this show doesn't get picked up for a 2nd season. It's just too good.
It's been very solid for these 4 episodes.
Okay, so of course, since you're the graphic novel guy, the ins and outs of the story. So far, these dynamics with York and the agent and Hero and Sam, is there that little sort of hookup scene with Hero and Sam where
Sam's not a character in the comics?
Okay, so
Sam.
Okay.
Yeah, he's completely invented for this show, and I like what they're doing with those 2 right now.
Right.
So I'm curious to see where they go with them. If they expand that scene any, or if they just kind of let that be a tension that remains between them for the rest of the time.
I'm cool with them not visiting this romantic thing for the rest of the season and letting it be tension until we get to that point. I always love stuff like that. Sometimes you're not a fan of The Office like that, I believe, right?
I think The Office is pretty solid for a couple seasons, and then becomes very repetitive after that.
But the tension between Jim and Pam, it's so much better when they're not together yet. Right. And when they get together, it's like, okay, that was the climax of it. So then it's like, now they're just together. So if they can work off of this and let it run as long as it can, I'm for it before they come back together. Honestly.
Yeah, let's see that.
But I mean, I really don't have anything else to say besides this show has really, really captivated me, and I really look forward to Mondays on this show. Raw's been so garbage. I've never had anything to look forward to on a Monday, and this is giving me something.
Yeah, I got this on Monday, and Only Murders in the Building on Tuesday, and
still haven't seen it, but I hear how incredible it is, and
it's a lot of fun.
I've seen, Steve Martin and Martin Short before the show started, they were doing their runs together, making their rounds to radio and stuff like that. And in all the interviews, they just talk about how great Selena Gomez is, and she just fit right on in with them. She's a pro, she's there before she needs to be there.
She feels like she's been doing comedy with them for years.
Dude, and they were just talking about how good she is, bro.
She's effortless in that show.
But it's like, bro, she's been doing this since Barney. You know what I mean? Like, of course. You know what I mean? She's a pro.
But going back to Why the Last Man, I'll say I'm really excited to see what happens with this group that Hero and Sam have fallen in with, because they picked up the one woman that was trying to get into the White House. They wouldn't let her in.
Right, with the child.
And her child who has an infected cut from chasing crows off of her dead father and brother. Because that group could go a couple of ways from the comics. Maybe they'll be a completely new group. Who knows?
Is the girl and her daughter in the comics this situation?
Honestly, I'm going to say I don't remember, but
okay.
I don't remember if I don't remember or if they don't exist.
Right. Or they were just kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right.
Because again, I read most of the comics about 15 years ago, so
right.
A lot of it's fuzzy, but a lot of it still stands out very solidly. But I really like that Missy Pyle seems to be their leader, and I'm a big fan of Missy Pyle, so I'm happy to see her on the show.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know who she is.
Oh, she's in a ton of things. Like she's one of those actresses. If you saw her in something, you'd be like, oh, it's her from that other thing. She looks a little different in this. She was in Galaxy Quest.
Oh yeah, I never saw Galaxy Quest.
Oh, you gotta see Galaxy
I hear
Quest.
how good it is though.
It's so funny, especially if you're a Star Trek fan.
Or just sci-fi in general. That's what makes the Orville so good, because it's so spot on the sci-fis, but with that comedy twist. So it's like the dude legitimately, you could tell is a fan of sci-fis because he's spot on all the tropes and making fun of them or whatever. But yeah, I totally just even spaced that whole situation where they meet up with them and she's gonna try and save homegirl but ends up failing, and they're gonna end up keeping them in the group for a little bit, or at least until the daughter is healed up. And then Hero situation where he runs in this police force that maintains the market, and Agent just whoops that ass. You know what I mean? Yeah. All of their asses.
Like there are 5 of them. She just whoops the shit out of all of them.
But I definitely think that's not the end of that, because obviously there's going to be repercussions of people now know there is a man.
And he dropped his cell phone. So there's more proof that he was actually a man.
Right.
Because
and
when they take off his gas mask, he tries to...
Yeah, right.
What? He tries to pretend that he's trans and he's looking for testosterone. Which I was happy it happened, because I had said to my wife right before that had happened that I don't know why when they're out in public he just doesn't pretend to be trans.
Especially since before that, when they run into the other group and they catch him in the stables, they come back to the house, he's trans. So, and they know immediately. So I feel like it could have passed off. And honestly, I would have done the same thing that he did. Try to pass off as a trans man. And because, it's a bad situation. But yeah, with this, going back to the cell phone, I mean, even more so, just proof that he exists. The link between him and the president, could now be found out, and that could be a whole thing. So we'll see next week, man. It's called, the episode title is called Manhunt. So I feel like next week's episode, there's going to be some shit going down.
Well, also, it's Manhunt with 2 N's, because the biologist they're looking for, the geneticist, is named Allison Mann.
Oh, okay.
And she becomes the 3rd in the trio in the comics, so I'm excited to get that character into the show, which is what I'm hoping is why that's called that.
Nice, a little play on words. I like that. So, why don't you go ahead and, give your weekly ranking for this?
I really like this episode. It was a lot of really good character development. And that's pretty much how most of it's played. There's only one or two small action sequences.
Mm-hmm.
I think for this one, I'm gonna stick with the 9 out of 10. I feel like it could have been a little bit longer and gone into a little bit more of the group that Hiro and Sam catch up with.
Yeah, no, I agree. With all that, it's a solid 9 out of 10. This is one of those shows where it's like there's not a lot of action, but it don't bug me because it's so well written that I'm still hooked between the interaction between people and the situations that are going on. So yeah, solid 9 out of 10 for me, man. I'm loving this series. It makes me want to go buy the graphic novel.
Oh, I highly suggest it.
Oh, yeah,
I'd wait until the season was through so that you don't get on two different tracks with your thinking of the show. Like, let the season play out and then go back and start reading it. Because it, like I said last week, it's 60 issues. It's a real quick read through the whole series. And it's just a really, really great comic.
That's what I like to hear. So I'm going to wrap this thing up. Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know in podcast land, as Benjamin Banks says, where you're from.
All right. You can catch me on the Oscar Worsty podcast. That's wherever podcasts are available. And if we aren't available, you can let us know at Oscar Worsty Pod on Twitter and Instagram, or the Oscar Worsty Podcast on Facebook. And you can follow me personally at Father of the Fear across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd.
That's right. And I'm Trav. You can find me on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks every Tuesday. Brand new episodes. You could get that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, wherever you're getting your podcast from, we're on it. You can find me personally on the Instagram at ZK Audio and on the Twitter at TRAVIOSZK. And of course, you can follow me on Letterboxd at the same. Thank you, Paul, for joining us again this week. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That's right. And we will see you next week. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.